Hello everyone.
Hello.
It is a great honor to be given this opportunity to present here today. Today's speaker is Keisuke Kogure and Natsuko Sugawara, and I am Hiroki Tei. Today, I will talk about the definition of multiculturalism first. Second, I will talk about academic highlights. Third, Ms. Sugawara will talk about site visit experiences. Fourth, Mr. Kogure will talk about cultural awareness. And at last, he will make a conclusion. First topic is our definition of multiculturalism. As you know, there are many types of cultures and peoples in the world. Let's suppose that there are two cultures here. The one is culture 1 and culture 2. Then, what will happen if the two cultures see each other or mix each other? According to the history, what I learned in classes, site visits, and museums, people might hate each other sometimes. But this is not multiculturalism in our interpretation. To be multicultural, we have to accept and help each other. And I think this is the best picture illustrating the multiculturalism, because there are white, black, small, and big hands holding the one same world.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next topic. Next, I want to start by comparing American and Japanese differences in school. I realized that my teacher Jacob asked us why and what do you think for many times. And Linda wanted us to make speeches in every her classes. I felt it was really hard for me because I didn't do that in Japan so often. The main purpose of American education is, I think, getting children to learn critical thinking. And Japanese teachers teach children group awareness. I think how people think is greatly influenced by how you are brought up. I think there are many backgrounds in America that it is likely that each person has their own ideas in America. But Japanese is not. Japanese tend to hide their opinion in their minds. To sum up, American children will develop speaking skills and individuality and be more influential and confident. Japanese students can be more cooperative and considerate of others and look for correct answers. Finally, through this 1 month, what I learned in classes is it is important to make my opinion by myself, think myself, and tell others what you think to be a member of the global community.
Beautiful.
I'm going to talk about our experience at the Japanese American National Museum. First, I talk about the reason this museum exists. I thought for Asian people or immigrant people because we can know and learn about Japanese American hardship experience. But my expectation is something wrong. Actually, to exist this museum is for Americans. Not to forget the unconstitutional act to the Japanese Americans in World War II. Because in World War II, the American government broke their own constitution. A guide this museum said, "We will never forget those things." Unconstitutional act means when World War II started, the US government made concentration camps. They gathered in concentration camps all Japanese Americans in United States. During war, they isolated the Japanese American in bad surroundings. Next, I want to talk about why those things happened. Do you know this word, hate crime? I didn't think deeply about this word before I visited this museum. The guide said hate crime will cause this isolation. The guide, she is second-generation Japanese American, but she speaks fluent Japanese and looks Japanese. She said, as an American, or our country of America. Before visiting, my first idea of seeing her for a second is kind of prejudice, I thought. This picture shows the situation of leading our way to concentration camps. America has judiciary. Judiciary means the principle that the person's nationality at birth is determined by the place of birth. Therefore, second-generation Japanese Americans are American citizens. However, they look like Japanese. In addition, Japan was enemy country in World War II, so that is why US government did such a thing. The history of the Japanese Americans still continues today. There is more than one thing we should remember. That relates to September 11th attack. When this occurred, American government and the climate of public opinion tried to do the same thing to people coming from or looking like the Near and Middle East. At that time, the Minister of Transportation is second-generation Japanese American. Japanese American gauged the climate of public opinion through him. His name is Norman Yoshio Mineta. This is my first time I heard this happen. When we were elementary school student, middle school student, and high school student, we learned about the people who lived in Japan in World War II or joined the army and so on. But almost all of Japanese does not learn about Japanese American in United States in World War II. So this is important experience for us. Let's move on next topic.
Next, development of cultural awareness. Going through this program, I learned that for multiculturalism, the most important thing is to be tolerant to the differences. To be tolerant means we must not hate differences. We must respect differences. Being tolerant, we have to do two things. First, we must not be controlled by the stereotypes. Second, we must know and understand differences. So it means we have to be the stereotype.
Yes. Beautiful.
Thank you. If it had been done, I think a lot of historical tragedies could have been prevented. For example, the persecution of Jewish people by Nazis and the persecution of Japanese Americans. During World War II, Germans were controlled by the stereotype that Jewish people are bad and all the troubles were caused by them. So this tragedy happened. And then Americans were controlled by the stereotype that the people who looks like Japanese are dangerous and they are enemy. So this also happened. So from this fact, I learned that a lot of historical tragedies were caused by the stereotype. So I got a question. Why do people have the stereotype? I think the answer is they are ignorant to the differences.
Yes.
So I think ignorance is crime. Therefore, we have to notice our own ignorance and we have to receive the difference with hospitality. It is the key of multiculturalism. Next, conclusion. Through this program, I learned how to be the stereotype. So from now on, to be the stereotype, I'd like to use the power of word, because words have the power to change the world. So, for example, telling about my host family, I'd like to be the stereotype that the black people are bad or gangsters. My host family, who are African American, is so good person. They are not gangsters at all. So such a stereotype is utter misunderstanding. So using the power of word, I'd like to be the stereotype. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Beautiful.